Two wild, wise women. And here we are, Maddie, Sue Brain and Maddie King. So, whoa, what times are we
I know.
living in? My goodness me. Just before we press record, we went through what
Mm.
has the sort of the archetypal intensity of what's been happening. So I'm going to as a um an astrologer, obviously the eclipse on the 17th for me kind of that was at 28 degrees Aquarius, right at the end of the
Mm.
Aquarius, and it was making a square to Uranus. So this is was going to be, yeah, quite shocking actually.
Mm.
Uranus is shocks and surprises. And then we went straight into the year of the fire horse,
Mm.
Chinese New Year. And then on the 20th, we had the Saturn and Neptune conjunction, which we've all been waiting for. And bingo, we can talk about what's happened after that. We had Ramadan on the 17th of Feb. That's what you brought in. And we've also on the 18th of Feb, Lent started.
Brilliant.
And then we're at the top of the cycle of the solar cycle, which is why we're having so many solar flares and they're increasing because we haven't quite peaked yet.
Mm.
And that's what's affecting really the weather across the planet and also ourselves. Where should we go with all of that, Maddie?
Oh, we got rich pickings there, haven't we,
Don't
Sue? We
we?
really have.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I'd love to, when you were watching this, um, we'd love to know how all of this has affected you because it's a
Yeah.
time like never before, astrologically, energetically. And I was very aware, Sue, when we came out of the year of the snake, which was all about shedding
Yeah.
the old skin, and coming into the new. Now, the fire horse is really a strong energy to move forward. And that's quite a shock, really. Oh, I've just shed my skin, just let go. Whoops, now off we
Yes.
go. Got
Yeah.
all
Galloping
that
off.
energy. So, I mean, you're better at analyzing it than me, but I do feel it's if you've got a project to get off the ground, now is the time to do it. But there's a strange energy around, and I was thinking today, before I got online with you about, there's a very fine line when you're in it's not even a challenging time, an active time. There's a fine line between being Pollyanna. Oh, everything's going to be fantastic. Ooh, go with the flow, blah, blah, blah. Very valid sometimes. But, some people get really cheesed off when you say, oh, you'll be fine, go with the flow, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for some of us to honor, to take a pause and honor that feeling of, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? This is a change. How
It
is it?
is.
How is it resonating with me? Is
Yeah.
that little girl or little boy within me getting a bit, oh, I don't like this, it's a bit
Yeah.
hard. And just honoring that and taking a breath, being still, and then just moving on. So, not pushing
Yeah.
any concerned feelings down, but honoring them, maybe breathing them out, and then moving on and
Yeah.
facing reality is reality. And I know we said before we came on, we
Yeah.
we as a species, and you and I as well, you know, whatever the reality is, we'll find a way of dealing with it.
Well,
But
we've always have. I think for me, it is this sense of there's a lot of, in my understanding, kind of spiritual bypassing at the moment that's going on because people really are very uncomfortable with what's the reality of what's happening. And actually, if you really look at it, especially with just what's happened recently with ex-Prince Andrew and I can't remember his name, begins with an M, who've just
oh,
been arrested.
Mandelson,
Thank you,
Mandelson,
thank you,
yeah.
thank you. I probably forgot that on purpose. But I do feel like, that the world that we know is disintegrating, and
Yes,
this is
it's
very
coming
much
down.
the Neptune energy that's coming in alongside Saturn.
Mm.
It's disintegrating everything that we've known and
Mm.
all the chaos and the kind of the confusion that we've been building up for the last 14 years. Boom, it's gone. So we're entering into a very different. energetic state. I would put it that way. And we're
Yes,
trying to catch up.
I agree. And I think that however enlightened we may be or feel we are, when there is such a big shift, there is an apprehension
Of
on
course.
some level, even if it's a sort of your mini me, your subconscious is, oh, better the devil you know than the devil, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I really do think this is a time, whilst the fire horse is all about moving forward, I think taking a pause between snake energy and fire horse energy, taking that pause to be really still. And we had the monks walking the walk of
We
peace and everything.
did.
And I
Wasn't
loved
that
what he was saying
beautiful?
every day. He said it 108 times, because 108 is that sacred number in the Tibetan belief. And he would say, whatever you do, just do it mindfully, basically. That's he was saying. And I think it's just coming back,
Yeah.
breathing, and just thinking, oh, we'll be well. Don't know what it's going to be, but working
Yeah.
on letting go of the old order. Because I
Yeah.
do think there's a lot of big figures, public figures, and establishments which I think will crumble.
I do too. And I
And we're
think what
seeing the
I think,
beginning of it.
yeah, we are. We're just beginning to witness it or beginning to crumble away. And I think what interested me, that what I loved about what I can't remember which monk was saying this, but he did say, "Today I choose this day to be my day of peace."
Yes, yes,
And I think if we practice that, I choose
yes,
this day to be my day of peace, whatever you're doing, even if you're quite
yes,
busy, you're doing it consciously with a different relationship to it, right? The nutty stuff. Oh my
yes.
God, I'm so busy, I can't. But just bringing the whole
Come
concept of
down.
peace, just
Yes,
it takes the edge off the freneticism.
yes,
And we're living in a very frenetic time.
yeah. I totally agree with you. And it's interesting because when they were walking the piece, I was preparing a class on Tibetan wisdom. And one of the Tibetan chants is Om Mani Padme Om. And if you don't chant, okay, I can hear you going, here she goes. You don't have to chant. But what I do, because I'm really lazy, and when you put this up, Sue, I'll put the link to this because it's a
Lovely.
YouTube video
Mm,
or it's on Spotify or whatever.
mm,
There's a 2.5 hour recording of this monk chanting this mantra, but with like tinkly music. It is so peaceful. So what I
mm.
started doing about 3 months ago was I would put it on timer and I'd play it when I went to bed. So I went to bed with that energy,
Wow.
that
Yeah.
vibration washing over me. Now, I don't know. I've done experiments with friends and they've all found the same thing. We all sleep better. So it is all
Mm.
energy. So
Yeah.
that might be something you do. I'll put the link in, but that would lead you to other links. You choose the one you like,
Yeah.
if you choose to do it. And it's things like that. And I think that when certain things collapse, it gives space for new things. And I think this is a real opportunity now for us to get our vibration right,
Yeah.
our whatever you want to call it, our centers were grounded in peacefulness and love and light and all of this real Pollyanna stuff there. But seriously, if we can be like that, it's going to ripple out. And I really do think it will influence what begins to emerge.
Well, this happened actually unconsciously. So I've had this lovely pack of cards called the Prayers of Islam. I've had them for years. And I suddenly looked at them and I thought, do you know what I'm going to do? Every morning I'm going to, and it's all based on the Rumi teachings, which I
I
just
love
love.
Rumi.
And every morning I spend time with God. Well, actually, they call it Allah. And I'm really comfortable to call it the God Allah. Very, very comfortable. And that's what I do. I just spend every morning, I spend time with Allah. And when I go to for a walk, I spend time with my understanding of what Allah is to me and the teachings that the card has given me. And
Mm,
that's making a huge difference.
mm,
It's just doing silly, well, not silly, but it's just doing simple things like that. It isn't complicated what we're suggesting. It's just little
yeah.
steps.
Yeah, little steps.
to
Just a
get us through the
pause. That's
day.
all one we need, a pause.
Yes.
Because it's so easy in these times, especially this last 10 years, get caught
Yeah.
up on that collective busyness. You
Yeah.
know, it's an energy which infiltrates. So you go, whoa, 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 I'm not buying into that.
Mm.
I'm taking 2 or 3 deep breaths, feet on the ground. Okay, I'm back now. That's all it
Yeah.
takes. 3 deep breaths and a
Yeah.
smile, you know,
Yeah.
and
And
you might just hand on heart and hand on belly, you know, do it that way, but
it's lovely doing
less
that.
than a minute, and you constantly bring yourself
Yeah.
back into a state of non-busyness, if you want. And sooner or later,
Just
you just
being.
retrain your mind and it becomes much more resistant to that sort of collective, got to do it, got to do it now, do it now.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
actually, the terror there's a lot of terror in the collective at the moment. My God,
Oh,
what's happening to the world that I thought was safe? Well, it's changed, and it is
yes.
changing, and it's going to continue to change. And before we press the button, you were talking about the whole concept of courage, and I think that would be good to hear more about that from you.
I do think you're right. I think there is a fear of change, but also of incredible uncertainty. I mean, certainly in this country, so I think you probably agree with me, there's uncertainty. For example, professions which we always respected when we were young, you know, the medical profession, the legal, the accountant, all of these, the justice system, you suddenly think, oh, I'm not so sure now, you
Yeah.
know, if it really is there, to world peace, you know, to 15-minute cities or whatever they're called, you know, all these things which are going
Yeah.
around. Whether they're true or not, we don't know, but they're going around and they instill in us that sort of fear. Sometimes we can push it down, and that's when Pollyanna gets a bit out of hand. No, no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. No, you're
Yeah.
feeling something inside.
Yeah.
And a really good, it just jars all the energy. So a fabulous way of just bringing your energy back is this one, the breathing. But you can also rub your hands together, shake them off, and with the middle finger, put one finger. I think we've done this before, but it's still a
Yes,
good
we
one. It
have.
bears
It's a
repetition.
lovely one.
One in the
Yeah.
navel and one on
And
the
then the other
third
one on
eye.
top. Yeah,
Close
absolutely.
your
That's
eyes and you
lovely.
take some lovely deep breaths and you actually talk to your body. And you
Mm,
can say something like, you know, with all that's going on, I remain grounded and safe. I am grounded, I am safe, and I can cope. Whatever words, what would you
mm,
say to someone to comfort them? Say that to yourself. Now,
yeah.
one of the reasons this gives you courage is it's hooking up the governing vessel, the vessel that runs up your back. You know, that's where we get that sort of saying, oh, spineless,
Yes.
you know,
Or
got no
stiff upper
spine,
back. Stiff
you
it.
know,
Stiff, yeah.
and it's good, you know, stiff upper
Yeah.
back. Well,
Yeah.
that comes from somewhere because if you've got a strong governing vessel, running up your spine, what happens is it gives you the courage to move forward. You know, even the posture will change. You know, I can move forward. Bit of
Mm,
power stance when you're feeling a bit, oh my
mm,
God, what am I going to do?
yeah.
I'm going to hook into my courage, you know,
Yeah.
plug into it. And as then it hooks up with the central meridian, this meridian up the front of the body, which is all about how we relate to the world. Now, if the world is fearful, we're taking in all that energy, especially if you work in a caring profession or anything like that. And so therefore by hooking this up, you're getting the energy up the front. You can even actually with your
Mm.
hands
You
come
can
up
feel it like
and
this.
zip up.
Yeah.
And you can think, I can relate and give every bit as much, but I am not taking in all that fear,
Mhm.
all that irritation, frustration, anger, whatever it is, it's toxic, it's negative, I'm not taking it in, you know? And so every morning, maybe before you go out, you could hook up, you
Yeah.
could zip it up, and you could even trace a figure of 8. The Tibetans believed the sign of affinity was immensely healing.
Mm.
So if you do a figure of 8 in front of you before you walk out your front door, you're putting like a shield, a protective shield. You
Mm.
could do it behind you as well because it comes from behind. But you're doing a lot more than that. With the figure of 8, it's a healing infinity symbol, but it also activates the strange flows, the extraordinary
Mhm.
vessels. And one of those, you don't even have to know the name because when you do the figure of eight, it activates them all. One of those helps us adapt to change and
That's
gives us
yeah.
courage.
I think
So
I think that
simple
one of the
things.
most important things is to be conscious, as you say, of your posture. If you're,
Yes.
unconsciously we go like this. A lot of us are walking like this, we're looking down, and it is about consciously standing up, taking your shoulders back, physically taking your shoulders back, so you feel like you're in alignment, and
And
that
if you,
completely shifts everything.
that is such a good point, such a good
Just
point, Sue.
shift.
You wise, wild woman, you. That's a really good point. But think of so many people are like this now.
Yeah,
And so this posture, especially with young people who've
yeah,
grown up with this, is
yeah.
staying. Yeah, no,
But we're looking down all the
all
time.
the time.
And I say,
Up.
always saying, look up.
Mm,
Just give yourself a chance to look up at the sky
mm.
or look up. And then you suddenly feel kind of happier and lighter. And
Yes.
it's all right.
And
But
smile because your brain,
yeah,
all the brain knows is, oh, she smiled,
yeah,
endorphins. It doesn't have to be true or not, you know,
yeah,
but the brain
yeah,
will react. Oh, laugh.
yeah.
Sometimes I've got this, I think I've said this before, I'm not sure, but I have a new technique, which I think I'm going to patent, although probably it was invented many, many years ago. You know, I just go sometimes smile when something horrible happens or annoying. I just go, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever, in my mind. If I'm by myself, I'll actually go, whatever.
Whatever. It's a great
But in my
expression.
mind, if I'm in a queue and someone jumps in front, I just go, in my head,
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
And it just takes the sting out of it, you know?
And I think the other thing is to really question what's important,
Yes,
what's really, really pressing, what do I really need to pay attention to?
absolutely.
Because guess what? You cannot save the world
No,
single-handed, or
no.
even with a friend. The world is going to be doing what the world is going to do. So just be realistic about what you can offer. And I just say to lots of people, every day the work that you can do is consciously add to the zeitgeist some form
Yeah.
of positive thought, not Pollyanna thought, but just something positive, even if it's an expression
Mm,
of love or it's reality. I don't, whatever it is to you, but it isn't a negative, oh my God, we're doomed. But
absolutely.
this, and then you've done something that has meaning and purpose and added it to the collective for
Mm,
global welfare. And I
absolutely.
think that's really
Yeah,
important.
your little contribution is very powerful. And, there is
Yeah.
that technique where you think of at night and on waking and on going to sleep, you think of three things you're grateful for.
Oh, yes.
And that's always a good one, that energy of
Yeah.
gratitude. But also I find sometimes, excuse me, Sue, if you if something annoys me, like if my knee's hurting or something, I'll go, oh God, that hurts. But at least I can still walk on it,
Yeah.
and I try and counteract any negativity.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't, and sometimes lessons are really, really, really hard, and you've got to, as I said right at the beginning, honor that.
Yeah.
And but in little everyday things,
Mm.
as the monk said, think this is going to be a peaceful day. This is going to be a day of gratitude. And all that goes out. It ripples
Yeah,
out. We
it
don't
does.
realize it will ripple out to our animals, to those who we come in
Yeah.
contact with, and better to ripple out that than to ripple out toxicity.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's no question that this is the beginning of the end of what we understand the world to be.
Mm.
Now, for our generation, we're very entrenched in the old way, and it's hugely impactful for us. The younger generations are going to be much more fluid with it.
Oh yeah.
But it is, and as you say, it's about just finding something. As I said, I'm doing a card every morning. It might be something else for
Yes.
you. You might want to go and smell a flower or whatever it is for you. But just spend that little time with what you
Mhm.
understand God to be for you. and off we
Yeah.
go with we're off
Yep.
and running now.
We are
And
indeed. It's going to be
I
very,
think
this year's going to be very interesting, Sue.
yes, and I
Our
think
little
we're going
matters.
to witness, as you say, a lot more collapse.
Mm,
So we've just got to be very mindful, and people are going to get very frightened about money. And I think really I'm doing a lot of work with clients now about changing the word money into abundance. Just shift it into what makes you feel
mm,
abundant rather than I haven't got enough money or I've got, money, well, money, money, money. And that's coming from a place of fear and lack.
mm.
But when we shift it into, well, what makes me feel abundant? That's a whole different way
Yes,
of relating to what's going on at the
absolutely.
moment.
Good point, Sue. Really good.
Yeah. So, Maddie, is there something you'd like to just finish off with?
I just think develop the sacred ancient art of whatever.
Yes, whatever. And just to let everybody know, I've done a video about the fire horse with the most fantastic Chinese astrologer. She's actually
Ooh.
40, she's the 44th in her lineage, going back to the Ting dynasty. And her grandfather and her father, and they live in Hong Kong, taught her this, and she's just fabulous.
Oh,
And
I'm off to
she,
look at that right now. Is
yeah,
it on
yeah.
your,
So
it's on your
I'll put,
channel?
yeah, absolutely. So I'll put the
Oh.
link below, but she really describes the power of the fire horse and what it's going to bring to us. And what we did discover, because I was thinking, well, horses are herd. They like being in a herd. They don't like being
Mm,
on their own. I mean, obviously the males have a different experience, but the females, they like being in a herd. And I suddenly thought, well, maybe the fire horse will start
mm.
bringing us together more.
I hope so.
Let's hope so. Anyway, we will see everyone next month, and we'll have had the March eclipse, full moon March eclipse by then, which is on the 3rd, few days' time. This is going to be in Virgo, but there's a huge raft of, it's called a stellium, incredibly intense stellium of Pisces opposing it. So I'm going to be very interested to see how this plays out. And anybody who's interested in the power of eclipse, Chris Brennan, people who know him in astrology, he's done a really great video on the power of eclipses and how they mark the downfall of people or scandal, or it's a fascinating
Ooh.
video. So I'll link that too.
Oh, I'm going to be watching that as well.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He's very cool. He really knows what he's up to. So yes, all everyone.
Thank
So
you.
God bless you, or Godspeed, and we will see you in a month's time.
Yeah. Thank
And
you for
leave us
being with us
messages. We
today.
love hearing from you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care for now. Bye.